I mean, technically, Geralt does love Yennefer. I believe he has grown attached to Triss in the loving fashion as well over the last two games. So, and Yen's kind of been gone, but that's not unusual for their relationship either. So, it's not really any of your
None of your
business.
business.
Yes. As a vagrant, I deserve no explanation.
What do you know? Tell me.
Before you appeared, it never occurred to me that might have been Yennefer. Who would have thought?
Get to the point.
An Nilfgaardian scout from the local garrison saw her.
Where?
At their camp. She rode in there. Dark of night. Black and white. Gooseberries and... Yes, I know. Had a terse exchange with the garrison commander and raced off.
Where to?
I'm not omniscient. Ask at the garrison.
Thanks.
We men of the road must stick together. Perhaps one day I'll be in trouble, and you'll be nearby to help.
So, yeah. That also does give me more information, because he does recognize it. I am not certain that if I didn't have the DLC questline, if he would be in this spot in the default game, because I've never played it without the DLCs. Oh, okay, door. Right then. Usually you're not as glitchy as you are today.
Then fuck off.
Don't want your kind here.
So, yes, and what makes the brilliant return is the Jedi mind tricks of Axii. Axii allows you to interact, essentially, it describes it in the left-hand side, but it essentially allows you to do exactly that, a Jedi mind trick. You are able to influence an individual of weak will to do what you want. So, I have the option of saying, trying to start a fight, or I have the option to just make them go away with the Jedi mind trick, which I love the Jedi mind trick, and it's more in depth in this one because there are skill points in the skill tree which I will probably I'll show after we get through this conversation that increase the odds of Axii working. So you can make the conversation portion of Axii more powerful at the same time as making the combat portion of Axii more powerful. So that's definitely, it opens up and allows you to get away with so much more crap than you would normally do. So I'm definitely going to be using the Jedi mind trick because it's so much more amusing.
Haven't done anything to you, so just calm down.
And he even waves his hand
Course
in this
not.
one now.
No, he done nothing.
Horses working witchcraft. Get him!
So this had unintended consequences of someone noticed. Oh, so we're actually in a brawl. So I could pull out my sword and just kill them, but, they are only using fists at the moment. But I don't have to fight three now, because I used Axii on one of them.
Meeting you.
Oh, hey Roach, I got this covered. So I charmed him, so I didn't have to fight him, so it only became a 2-on-3 instead of a 3-on-3, or a 3-on-1. So instead of, in the Witcher 2 series, where the brawling events were essentially quick time events, I had to push the right button at the right time, this one actually is just like any other combat. It's skill-based. There's abilities to block and dodge, and I believe there's still pirouetting in this one. But I didn't kill them, so I think I killed them the first time I played this game, and I ended up getting in trouble with the magistrate. I think I drew my sword. But, yes, the autosaves, thank you. But for now, yes, I was going to pull up. No, I don't need this. Again, I don't... Oh yes, Tawny Owl. Stam regen, it can be useful. didn't actually use this, but I'm not going to, so... So again, potions have their usefulness, their abilities. Like this one lasts for 30 seconds. It increases stamina regeneration by 5% for 30 seconds, obviously. I can use it in combat. It has 3 of 3 charges. This game, I don't have to actively craft each individual use of potions. I have to essentially take a rest to regain my potions and have base alchemical ingredients, and it just kind of auto fills my potions. So that takes a little bit more of the tedium out of it, but in order to get new potions, I need to create them alchemically. So it makes certain ingredients much more valuable because I will be using those ingredients less, so they become rarer. And then, of course, like the last game, it also has the toxicity level, which this one adds 20 toxicity out of 100. That essentially limits the number of potions I can use at any given time. There are ways to reduce the toxicity effect of potions through skill trees. There's also ways to gain more toxicity cap. I don't remember which way that might go. That goes into the crafting of the skill tree again. We have alchemy, which again I just kind of explained, where I can create mutagens, I can create the alkahest, so I can use different types of alcohol to essentially refine alkahest out of it, which is the base. But this is kind of the ingredient that, as long as I've got alkahest, I can replenish my supplies of stuff. So this alkahest becomes incredibly valuable. That's like my basic regen or reagent required. So I can create bombs. Like, I don't have grape shot, and bombs and traps and such follow the same kind of logic as the potions do. They have charges, but I don't have to recreate new ones to get new ones. I just need to craft them alchemically once, and then alkahest will essentially regen them or replenish my supply after I take a short meditation break. So I would need saltpeter and calcium equum. I need 2 of each of those, and then I can make grape shot. So I'll be on the lookout for those types of reagents. It essentially makes you choose which reagents to use, because a lot of them use the same kind of things. And then oils, which are incredibly more useful. These don't have charges, but they don't have use charges, but they have, once they're applied to the blade, they only last for a certain amount of hits. So they give you essentially bonuses towards the creature that they're designed for. The ghouls we fought earlier are considered necrophages. They belong to the species category, where the ghoul is the individual creature, and then the necrophage is its family group. So there's a whole bunch of creatures within the necrophage family, and the ghoul. And then we also talked about alguls, and there are different ones, and there are specters, which is another family group. So these oils work against creatures from those families. And these are the potions that I can also create. So Swallow returns, and so does Cat. Those are the ones I used in the last game, to where I need to create them now. So I grant, like again, Cat grants sight in total darkness. Gives you night vision. I don't remember how this game handles that, because we saw heartbeats in the last one. So I'll have to craft it after collecting the materials for it and try it out. Swallow returns again, but I need the ingredients to craft them. I will also be able to find schematics for different alchemical formula throughout my travels, and those are definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. I can also find them as rewards. The crafting system makes a return. I remember now, in this one, as the last time I played through the game, I got rid of the current starter gear I am wearing. There is actually an upgrade to it that I can create as long as I get these ingredients. So again, like the last game, Geralt can collect formula to craft things, but Geralt isn't a crafter. He has to find a blacksmith. And I believe it's actually broken down into blacksmiths, so armorsmiths and swordsmiths in this game. So I have to find an appropriate smith of an appropriate level. So right down here, this requires an armor of the amateur level. As I gain levels, there will be different formula that have that hard same armor requirement, but will require either journeyman, the apprentice, or the master level. And I'll have to find in the world that appropriately skilled smith to be able to create the thing I need, or the thing I want. So it's an interesting way of, it's making you go and find new people, so you don't just stick with because there's a blacksmith in Whiterun, where we are now, but I believe he's an amateur armorer and swordsmith. So you can't just stick and come back here all the time, you have to go find a new one. And then there are a whole bunch of reagents and I'm actually surprised I have all of these, but yeah, these are all the crafting components that you find, and then you find junk, which junk you can either sell for just money, or you can also break it down for a cost from a crafter into the different reagents. You can also break down your old gear into reagents as well. There's the book tab, the character tab where you can keep an eye on everyone, which I'll go through that a little later. Tutorials just in case I missed stuff. And one of my favorite things, the bestiary. The bestiary provides so much information about the creatures you're going to be fighting. Like the griffin, it counts as it's in the hybrid family. And there's a brief description that you can read if you'd like to. Griffins were once, I'll just read it. Griffins were once only found in the high mountains where they would hunt marmots and wild goats. When humans encroached on their lands, however, griffins soon discovered a new source of much more plentiful and easier caught prey: cows, sheep, and shepherds. Though still wary of main roads and towns where folk with the means to hire a witcher are likely to dwell, these half-eagle, half-wildcat creatures have gone from rarities to oft-encountered pests known throughout the northern realms. Especially hated are the subspecies known as royal griffins and archgriffins. So what I encountered was just a griffin. And here, at the bottom, lists the Witcher's, Geralt's specific knowledge of these creatures, of what they're vulnerable to. So, the griffin is, because it belongs to a hybrid family, it's vulnerable to hybrid oil. So it would take more damage to that. This is the specific oil designed to harm that creature. Because it's a flying creature, and there are similarities between different types of creatures, it's vulnerable to grape shot, which grape shot is very much like you would expect to find in our world. It's a bomb it's a fragmentation grenade. It explodes and sends out shrapnel everywhere. I believe this one is actually set up to throw out essentially ball bearings. And because it's a flying creature that relies on its wings to fly, grape shot does significantly more damage to it, and I believe it actually stops it from flying for a little while. And then we have the Ard sign, which again I should go over a brief description of all the signs because we have gone into a new series as well. Signs are the magic of the Witcher. They're essentially combat magic. As we saw in the cutscene, Yennefer was able to use significantly powerful magic. The Witcher's signs are still magic, but are not nearly as powerful as what an actual spellcaster can use at their disposal. The Witcher magic is often described as rudimentary and crude by sorcerers, but it is simple and easy to cast, and doesn't require a lot of energy, because magic requires energy, and it can oftentimes pull from the sorcerer's own, essentially, life force. And it can cause you to go unconscious. It can actually, if you do enough strength of a spell, it can actually draw all of your strength and kill you. But the Ard sign is one of the signs of the Witcher. It is essentially, to make it continue with the Jedi analogy, it's force push. It's a shot of wind that goes out, and because it's a flyer, it suffers from that. There is also, we talked about Axii, which is a mind-affecting sign. There's also Igni, which is essentially just fire. There is Quern, which allows you to provide a shield, There is Yard, which is a trap mechanic that places a trap on the ground that will trigger if anything goes over it and contain it for a little while. And I believe that is all of the symbols. I might have missed one, but that's essentially it. And we've also encountered, again, the ghouls, which ghouls are part of the necrophage family, and they're vulnerable to the necrophage oil. And we've had brief description, ghouls are corpse eaters. They are a unique species, so they're not actually humans, but they're very bestial in nature, and they eat corpses. So they are very attracted to battlefields and grave sites, and they're an oftentimes huge nuisance to areas that have gone through strife. They also do attack people and will actually kill humans and kind of take them away and wait for them to be essentially corpses and rotting to devour them. But yeah, they're nasty little creatures. And we'll come back to the bestiary when we run into more monsters to check out the absolute just plethora of information about them. The meditation system exists again. It's how we can change time. It's also how we will be able to replenish our supplies. Here, this is the skill tree. It's broken down into combat, signs, so I can check here about the signs. Ard, Igni, Yurden, Quern, and Axi. So there are only those 5 signs. Alchemy is another talent path that I have not gone down into. It focuses heavily on the bombs, the potions, and the toxicity, where if you're essentially it benefits you to be at levels of toxicity and have a toxic rating, and you get bonuses for doing so. There's also general talents, which give you just unrelated buffs and abilities. And then there are mutagens, which I believe were added in Heart of Stone or the Blood and Wine expansion. Again, I'm not 100% certain on that one. So the biggest 3 we'll be focusing on will be the 3 first ones. I focused last time I played very much on the magic side of the game. I enjoy that playstyle a lot, but I'm definitely looking forward to interacting with maybe the combat or alchemy one this round. Again, that'll be discussions of people's interest to see. There's also, so this one has the fast attacks, there's heavy attacks, there's defense. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but we will be getting a crossbow. It's kind of like a hand crossbow. And this benefits that crossbow. And then this is essentially just combat abilities. The magic signs are broken down into the 5 tracks of each sign, buffing them and benefiting them. You actually get eventually different versions of the signs. Yeah, the alternate sign mode. So with Igni, if you hold down the button to cast it, it instead of just doing a burst of fire, it will do a flamethrower. It's the easiest way I can use to describe it. They're incredibly useful, and it allows you the flexibility of, it gives you more flexibility behind the magic. With alchemy, it's split into potions, oils, bombs, mutations, and I think this is another general one. Yeah. Oh, yes. I also remember, I'm going over a lot of the core backgrounds of the game instead of doing more of the game, but it's important and it's the first time experiencing this game. There are 3 different tiers of armor, which these 3 specific talents go over. There's light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. They each have their own playstyle desirabilities, essentially, where it's called the School of the Cat because it focuses more on light attacks, and so does light armor. So if you're wearing light armor, you're more inclined to be using light, fast attacks, and this talent focuses much more on that. The more light armor you have, the more damage your fast attacks do. Medium armor focuses more around the magic, the signs. And the School of the Griffin is what they focused on, which was they focused more on the teachings of magic. The School of the Bear techniques are focused around heavy armor, and you get more hit points. You become essentially a tank. And it focuses more on strong attacks. And that's what the School of the Bear focused on. These were different schools of witchers. The School of the Wolf was definitely a balanced school, where they believed in the balanced approach of all combat techniques and usages around. So, an equal use of light, heavy attacks, signs, potions, bombs. Basically, use everything at your disposal. We've had our quests, which we know what we need to do, and then the world map, which we've already seen. Another thing that is incredibly important to the Witcher universe, which I'll be going to now, the message boards. They make a return from The Witcher 2, where they are places.
Will you raise a glass with me?
It's Dervan now. D-E-R-V-A-N, not Boydemar.
What do you mean? I know what they named you at your cutting. What kind of name is that anyway?
So,
Slower.
notice boards are where people post contracts. Again, and you're going to explain this. Like, yeah. And there's just a kid talking about just the standard schoolyard song.
You're never to sing that rhyme again.
And I'm assuming
Not to play with Chetty no more.
a parent of the child is freaking out over the fact that that song insults the Nilfgaardians, and that could cause huge issues considering it's Nilfgaardian controlled territory now. But yeah, so this is essentially where the message board, where people will post essentially the side quests. And with them, so there's the deserter. So I can find a deserter in the area. There's an Imperial Edict, hereby letting me know in the order of His Majesty's High Command, all able-bodied men of White Orchard must be present themselves in the village inn, equipped with shovel. Fields near the village are littered with corpses, and you have to deal with them. This isn't a side quest, it's just more lore. Like, this is something that would be posted on a notice board normally in this area. That this is an Imperial Edict. That all able-bodied men must help clean up the bodies because there are necrophages about, and we need to deal with the fact that there are food sources here. Volunteers in the Imperial Army, which again won't be a side quest, but it's the Imperial Army is looking for recruits, so that adds more immersion into it. The Outdoor Relief. Imperial Garrison hereby announces that every week the village's poor may come to collect food rations. Rations will only be distributed to supplicants able to document proof of their poverty. Cheats will be punished like any other thieves to the full extent of the law. Nilfgaardians, their laws are very harsh, but they're essentially very fair, and they provide a lot of societal advantages. Like they have, like this, where they have a food rationing system to the poor. If you are poor, the Empire will feed you to make sure you do not die. But if you are trying to cheat the system, I'm fairly certain the penalty for being a thief in Nilfgaard is to be hanged. So again, very harsh rules, but causes order. My brother is missing. I believe this is actually a quest where an individual is missing their brother. They went off to fight the Black Ones, so they're looking for proof that either he is dead or find him. So that's a nice side quest I can do. And then the bread and butter of all Witchers, contracts. So this is a contract not for I don't believe this is for the Griffin. I have to actually talk to the Nilfgaardians about that one. But this is a contract of Devil by the Well. Dear good folk, I know there's a war on and every man's got trouble enough of his own, but perhaps there's one of you who could help a father in need. You all surely know the well in the ruined village, and the devil that guards it with the jealous fury. And if you don't know, well, come ask and I'll tell you about it. Whoever drives that monster away from the well will get a fat purse full of gold. Just don't tarry for it's an urgent matter. So, this is a Witcher contract. It is a monster of unknown origins or unknown species inhabiting a location. In this case, a well. I don't really know where it is. I can check the map. It will eventually show me that I can accept. It creates a point of interest on my map. But I can either go to the person, so I can read the message again, and I can read all of them again. Yeah, this allows me to read all of the missives. This goes in the book tab that I got. So I can read, I have two options. I can either go to the well right now and go kill whatever monster or drive it away that I want to. And then I can go back to the quest giver, to the person that started that message, I think it was Odrin, and get the reward for it. Or I can go talk to the guy giving the quest, giving the contract. I can get information about the creature that's possibly there, the lore behind the situation, and I can actually haggle with the price for him. Because if I don't start the combat first, I can't haggle. So I can essentially go into a negotiation phase where I want more money. And money is decently important in The Witcher. Everything costs money. I mean, kind of playing the game itself, you need food, but you should pretty much be able to find enough to survive, but you can buy it as well. Oh, I believe that was an alchemical ingredient I needed for something. But yeah, these people are growing herbs in their fields, they're growing wheat, they're growing sunflowers. I can collect these reagents and they will eventually respawn and regrow as the time passes. So I will actually have to pass time for, or just continue exploring for these reagents to regenerate, but I can do that. Some of the houses are in poor repair because there's a war on and people have been recruited to fight, and yeah, not everything's super pleasant in this world. I believe I picked everything in the... Yeah, and the damn Witcher's part is definitely par for the course of Witcher's response. Witchers are... I should go over that as well again. Witchers are a augmented human through mutation and alchemical process and in its core magic. But they're essentially mutated humans to increase their speed, reflexes, strength, basically anything that would be useful in combat. It also gives them the ability to use the rudimentary magic that they use. And it gives them the cat eyes that we've already seen on Geralt and Vizimir. That's one of the distinguishing characteristics of a Witcher. So, as such, Witchers are not... So, Witchers are not viewed specifically as human, nor are they specifically viewed as non-human. They're an odd quasi-situation in the world. Most people distrust them, but realize that they need them because they are specifically created to hunt monsters.
Whoa!
I believe the quest we are looking for is in the... Oh, that's why. Yes, thank you for going through the tutorial for all of that. So, yes. So I'll have to go up here eventually for... I have to ask the Nilfgaardians about Yennefer. And yeah, and now that I touched the message board in the area, I've gotten access to the area's points of interest. So like, as we checked the map before, none of these points of interest existed. But because I touched the notice board, it reveals just a whole bunch of points of interest that I don't know what they are, but there's going to be something there of importance that I could